What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Ohio Sports Talk. I am your host, Doug. That's my guy, Jordan Maxson. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing good, doing good. It's been a busy week. For our fans that don't know, I had a grandparent pass away over the 4th of July weekend. We had our services yesterday, so it has been a kind of a grinding week. I started coaching football. We had a couple of no-hit practices, some walkthroughs, some basics. So it's been a little bit nonstop, but I'm here doing what I love as well. So we got a lot to dive into tonight, and I'm ready to rock it. How are we doing over there?
Doing good, man. Busy as well. Had a couple meetings today that was important. Glad we got those accomplished,
Yes, we did.
and just keeping busy. Like you said, the kids busy. Swimming, all that kind of stuff. Work's been busy recently. It's our busy time of the year, so grinding out those early mornings has been something too, and just trying to keep the show afloat, trying to keep it getting better each and every week, and I think we've been doing that. I want to shout out to everybody who watches the show, who tunes in with the show, who interacts with the show. It means a lot to me and Jordan that you guys do that, and we've definitely appreciated it over the last couple weeks. Darren chiming in. Sorry for your loss, Jordan. Darren, obviously, we appreciate your support, buddy. But Jordan, let's kind of turn the tables on something a little bit more positive. The Cincinnati Reds had a hell of a week. We have a hard time with the Tigers. Come to find out, the Tigers are a damn good team. We learned something this week because those guys are super good. They've won 12? Is it 12 straight now, Jordan? Was I reading that correctly? They've won 12 straight.
I I, I believe they won 12. I believe that got struck because I know the Guardians won in extra innings two nights ago.
They've won. I read it wrong. They've won two. They beat us in the Guardians 4 times straight, and then they lost to one. So they've won. Sorry, they won 6 out of their last 7. I got a little ahead of myself there, but the Tigers are giving the Guardians hell in their matchups, and so us losing to the Tigers doesn't look as bad now. But Jordan, we get to come back and face the Rockies, and we beat up on the Rockies a little bit. We go 3-1 against them, win the series. And that sets us up with a very important series coming forward with the Marlins. But let's look back. What were your thoughts against the Rockies, Jordan? Because it was a overall successful series. We scored 31 runs to their 12. So overall, did a lot of damage on the scores, but lost that one game in the middle. What were your thoughts, buddy?
It's the good, the bad, the ugly of the Cincinnati Reds. We date back to the Dodgers series that got us excited, and we went into the Tigers series and a couple of the games. Doug, I'm not saying they could have won all of them, but I feel like we got out coached. Honestly, when it came to the Tigers series, bad base running, bad defensive infielding, a lot of the Reds' core problems, really reared their ugly head. And we saw. Now, I get the Colorado Rockies are not a very great team themselves, and they're kind of fighting a little bit of the injury bug as well.
Right.
We go there, but we absolutely light it up, and we got a little excitement, Doug. We got a player that we called up that is absolutely putting it together for us. I love to see it. I know you're going to touch into it, so I'm not going to steal that thunder or that mic time. But we got a quality start from Hunter Green today. 6 innings pitched, double digit strikeouts. Things we've come to know and love. That when Hunter Green's on, he's on. When he's off, Douglas, you really can't recover from it. And the one game that we did lose, we had a late rally, a late comeback, so we were never really out of it in the end. So it was good to see the Reds play complete games. But offensively, it's that we got the good again. It's we got the Clint Eastwood of the offense, and I hope it continues. Tyler Stevenson is absolutely tearing it up against the Rockies.
Incredible!
Big shout out to him. Incredible. Incredible is an overused term in sports, but there's no other way to say it for Tyler Stevenson. So, like you tweeted out on our X account, I really hope that he continues that streak going into the All-Star break, and we get at 500 or right there. It would be nice to see us, kind of go over that mountain. But Doug, I'm hoping for 500 right at the break, so that the Reds organization has more flexibilities and moves, and maybe a couple shuffles. I'd love to see us pick up a left-hander, but back to the series for the Rockies. The bats showed up, Jonathan
Yes.
India showed up, and the defense showed up. So, Doug, it we're sounding like a kind of a broken record. I hope the momentum goes forward against a very important series against the Marlins. We're at home. We're hitting well at home again. You got that feeling of the win. We've both been athletes. We've both been coaches. Winning is contagious, and
Right.
when you start it, it's easy. Practices become easier. Those meetings you don't want to fall asleep in. Film becomes exciting to watch. Things of that nature. So hopefully the winning and success continues. They don't have to go on the road. They don't have to leave their families. We get re-locked in for the weekend series, and we just keep it going.
Yeah. So to piggyback off that, Tyler Stevenson, this in the series against Colorado, he had 8 hits, 3 doubles, 4 home runs, and 8 RBIs. And absolutely incredible week for Tyler Stevenson. After he had been struggling a little bit, he had some issues off the field that he had to deal with. Had the birth of his
Absolutely.
daughter, so all the respect to Tyler Stevenson bouncing back and having a massive series against the Rockies. And then, Jordan, if we look at the standings right now, Cincinnati is 45-49. We've got a 3-game set with Miami coming into the weekend. At best, we can be 48-49 going into the All-Star break. 1 game under 500, right in the mix with the wild card and all the other and everything. We send Spires to the mound tomorrow night. We've got Abbott on Saturday, and then we've got Nick Lodolo to close out the series on Sunday.
Ooh, I
Jordan,
love that, Doug.
we've got to take 2 out of 3. We've got it. I expect Abbott and Lodolo to pitch really good games. Spires is kind of the toss-up in this situation. We know at times he looks really good, but he's a young pitcher. It's the ups and downs. So I'm really looking forward to this Marlins series. A lot can be said about the Reds if they go out and they take care of business against the Marlins, who are a struggling team. If you're 48-49 at the break, it's going to be hard for management to not want to go out and improve this team. And I think we're right on the cusp of that situation. So, Jordan, let's at least look back, though. We talked about the success of the bats in the Colorado series. Well, let's talk about the success of our call-up, Rhys Hines. Rhys Hines is, for whatever reason, he had the massive strikeout rate and AAA. I think it was like almost 40%. He's come up here and he's absolutely raked. It's been insane watching this guy hit the ball. He had the 450-foot home run. He had another home run the first game. It's awesome watching this guy hit. What are your thoughts on the call-up of Rhys Hines? A power bat. He's a power bat, and that's what this lineup was missing, is a guy who can send one out at any given time. So what are your thoughts? Because so far in his first 16 at-bats, he's got 8 hits, 3 doubles, a triple, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. He does 5 strikeouts, but I will take that any day. If you're producing if you're producing home runs, RBIs, and getting on base, I will forgive the strikeouts. In this day and age in the league, Jordan, strikeouts are part of it. So I'm all for it if he can continue playing at this level.
And it's a small sample size, but
course.
I'm super excited. It's the beginning of something that we finally were looking for. We didn't get it in the trade, and we touched on that on our last episode. So we had to get it from somewhere, so we got it from the call-up. And that was a huge deal. And you talk about strikeouts, that's reminiscent, and it's hard because it's a small sample size, so I don't want to throw out big names, but I feel like I'm kind of looking at, and he doesn't necessarily have the size, but Adam Dunn had similar issues at the plate when it came to strikeouts.
That's a wild comparison. That's a pretty wild comparison.
But if you look at Dunn's early stats, it's not far off, Douglas. It's not far off. Dunn had struggles in AAA. He creamed it when he was with the Dragons, but Dunn had struggles in the AAAs for strikeouts. It was between 35 and 40%. That was when pitching was a little bit. It wasn't elite as pitching is now.
Yeah.
10 to 15 years ago. But when you bring that to the plate and then you produce like that early and often, that's a name that kind of sticks out for me. And that's kind of somebody we've said, episode after episode, you need a Dunn, you need a Kearns, you need somebody that's just gonna pop one when you need one. And that's what he's been doing so far in a small sample size. So if he continues that through the Marlins series at the All-Star break where he gets to kind of rest, let that fame digest, and really kind of, hopefully it's infectious and it just goes down the line. Because if you're a player that's kind of weary from, the grind of the season, you get this new guy in here and he's lighting it up. That kind of rejuvenates you when you see that as a ball player. So I think it's great for the clubhouse to get a new name, a new blood, somebody just absolutely crushing it right now. And I think it's infectious. And I think we saw that today when, we scored double-digit runs, and I believe we had 14 hits total as a team. So it's absolutely, it's right up there. It's right what the doctor ordered at the right time.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you Dunn's rookie season stats, Jordan, and let's see. We'll try to remember this going forward. Adam Dunn had 19 home runs, 43 RBIs in 66 games. So I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna put it on a Post-it note, and we're gonna see what Rhys Hines ends with in his rookie season. So Adam Dunn, 19.
He'll play close to that.
66 games. And he struck out, let's see, 74 times. Let's see how good the prediction is, Jordan. I like it. I think it's fun. He's a lot smaller than Adam Dunn, obviously, but he has big time pop in his bat. And if we could get a power guy like that in this lineup, I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited about the prospects. I do expect there to be a little bit of dip because, like we said, it is a small sample size, but he's been mashing the ball. It's been really great to see. Let's talk about the other new Red, Austin Slater. For whatever reason, Jordan, Austin Slater isn't a center fielder, and David Bell's been putting him in center field. So his first game, he literally got thrown into the fire, had a rough go of it in the outfield, had an error, misjudged a couple balls in the sun. Tough go of it, but, came back. He's got a hit. He's just, like we said, he's for left-handed pitching. That's all he is. He's a stopgap for left-handed pitching. Anything else is just, icing on the cake with this guy. Anything you saw that made you think it could be more, is less? Any thoughts on Austin Slater through a couple games?
Well, I didn't see less, so I'll start there. His sample size is small as well, and like you said, he's being positioned out of character almost when it comes to being on the field. So I don't know. I don't agree with our manager for almost anything. So it's David Bell. So I'm not shocked and surprised. By this move at all. But I don't have the game film, Doug. So maybe he sees something I don't. I don't have the analytics that they do. Maybe it pans out. Maybe we're playing a little bit of money ball. And switching a position. Maybe not on that level, but just maybe there's a statistic or there's just something. Maybe it came from Slater himself. Hey, I want to play center field. Only time will tell. The story will come out. Time will tell. We'll get information on these decisions. I think probably post All-Star when we get a clearer picture of the roster as Douglas other players are going to come back. So I didn't see anything that looked discouraging. He's definitely a stopgap player, like we've kind of put the label on. Mm-hmm. So, he's there till other guys get healthy. Maybe he plays himself out of the rotation, but only time will tell. I'm not excited, but I'm not disappointed. So it's been okay. It's been as advertised.
Okay, well, let's put a bow on this. The Cincinnati Reds have a very, very important series coming up with the Miami Marlins this weekend. If the Reds can sweep the Marlins, they put themselves in really good position post All-Star break to make a run at making the wild card. If they take 2 of 3, they're still in a solid spot. But you cannot lose this series to the Marlins. It has to be 2 wins or 3 wins. It cannot be a loss to the Marlins. This team is not good enough to beat us. I truly believe that. This is one of the most important series of the season. Must win type scenario. I look forward to watching the Reds this weekend. and battle and continue to hopefully ascend towards the wild card. Jordan, let's transition though. We've got our college football highlight, and tonight we are talking about the Ohio State Buckeyes. Jordan, Ohio State. This is a really big year for Ohio State, Jordan.
Yes, it
I
is.
mean, all the chips are pretty much on the table here. Is there anything you want to talk about before we get into talking about the roster and some of the breakdown for the roster?
I think the only part of the roster that's kind of the wild, wild west is going to be the quarterback position, just because there's so much talent. We got the transfer that was, kind of the stopgap when we really didn't have anybody else on the roster that looked like a starter, and then Douglas had just kind of stacked up after that. It just kind of, and the ducks got in line, and the fires got hot in the quarterback room. So I think that's going to be a position to watch. We know what Smith is going to bring. We know what Ibuka is going to bring to the receiver group. We know that we have an unbelievable, safety group. One of the top corners in the league. So all that's going to fall in line. But I'll let you start kind of hammering it down. What do you see right now?
I see a very, very good football team, Jordan. I see it one of the best teams in the country. I see a team that should contend for a national championship, who is the favorite to win the national championship, Jordan. So that's what I see with this team. And you can't convince me that this team, if they don't win a championship, Jordan, this year, to me, it's a letdown. It's not living up to your potential. We're good enough, and we should win a national championship. Will Howard is a good enough quarterback with the pieces around us to win a national championship. Devin Brown, I'm not completely sold on. Everything we've heard has said that he has been really, really good in the offseason program and getting ready for the season. I believe both guys can lead us to a national championship. Julian Sayin from transferred in from Bama. I believe he is the future of the quarterback position at Ohio State. Maybe he's not ready yet. We said earlier in the summer that we thought he would be the starter. It doesn't sound like it's going that way right now. And Aaron Noland is waiting in the wings for a potential opportunity down the line, who is also extremely talented. We have 4 guys competing for one spot, and that spot is to lead a team to a national championship. All the eggs are in one basket. Shout out to Mark Fetters. Mark is a great supporter of the show. I really appreciate all of his interactions.
Yes, we do.
He's a hell of a guy to tail on your bets if you're into that. He's got a great winning percentage. So shout out to Mark. But Jordan, let's take a look at Ohio State's breakdown. There it is. Okay, so obviously Ohio State plays in the Big Ten, Jordan. We call the shoe home. Ryan Day, 56-8 in his career. Our rival is obviously Michigan. Projected to go 12-0, Jordan, this season, first in the Big Ten. Recruiting class-wise, we had the number 5 recruiting class in the country, 23 commits. The number 9 rated transfer class with 7 commits. Top players, this is pretty obvious. Caleb Downs, safety, transfer from Alabama. Unanimously, he's one of the best safeties in the country. If somebody tells you otherwise, they are a quack. Emeka Ibuka, severely hampered last year by injuries, only 41 catches, 515 yards, 4 TDs. But we know for a fact that Emeka Ibuka is a damn good, talented receiver who will be playing in the NFL next year. And then Denzel Burke, one of the best corners in college football, came back for another year. Could have went very high in the NFL draft. Wants to win the Big Ten. Wants to win a national championship. He had 8 passes deflected and 1 pick last year. The reason he only had 1 pick is because they don't target him anymore. He's that good. So 3 superstar players, Jordan. What jumps off the page at you this year?
Oh, it's our secondary, Doug, and you highlighted it in both our safety and our quarter. And it just, I'm pumped because we had a good secondary last year, but we didn't have the communication level that he brings from Alabama, playing safety. So I think that's just, I'm just overly excited to see it. We know what Ibuka brings. We know our wide receiver core is going to get it done, no matter who's slaying the ball this year. But really, the secondary pops off the page for me. What about you?
I think the secondary is obviously a massive advantage for this team. But I also look at our running backs, Jordan. We've got Henderson coming back, who's hopefully healthy this year. And then we bring in the transfer, Quinshawn Judkins from Ole Miss, who's one of the best running backs in the country. That legitimately is the best 1-2 punch at running back in the nation. So while we do have absurdly talented receivers, absurdly talented position players, we also have the ability to absolutely punish teams with the running game. I mean, we could literally dominate football games with those two guys. And we also made additions on the O line that I like. We went out and got Seth McLaughlin from Alabama, who is a damn good center who had one bad game, literally one bad game, and everybody, forgot how good this guy was at his position. And that really solidifies the O line to me. Jonathan Jackson is a guy who's going to play on Sundays. A lot of these guys are super, super talented. It's just, we've got 3 games on the schedule. We've got to win, Jordan. We've got Oregon, who is becoming quickly one of our rivals. We've got Michigan, and then obviously the games in the playoff. Those 2 games plus the playoff, I think the rest is going to handle itself. I don't think anybody else in the Big Ten is good enough to beat us besides Oregon. And I think Michigan's going to be a little bit down this year. Not trying to be biased because I know a lot of Ohio State fans will just rag on that. But I don't think Michigan has the talent to beat us this year.
There's not been a lot of rag on the last few years, Douglas, when it comes to Michigan.
But so, you know how people get.
I know.
They go overboard with it. And then I also have heard a lot of discourse back and forth about JTT. While he is uber talented on the D line, he is slightly overrated by Ohio State fans. People are talking about him should have been one of the best 100 players in the college football game. Well, I don't think he's really earned it. He's had good individual games every now and then. He has had a great game against Penn State, but he's got to consistently get it done every week. It's got to happen against Michigan. It's got to happen in the bowl games. It's got to happen every single week. If you want to be a top-rated defensive lineman like we've had the past with the Bosa brothers, with Chase Young, with some of these other top-level guys, they got it done in the biggest games on the biggest stage every week. So what are your thoughts there, Jordan?
Well, I'm right there with you. JTT, we think about his game where he had the sack and the interception and, the strip sack and the tackle for loss. And that game sticks out. It's kind of his Clowney moment. When Clowney blew up the Michigan player, got the highlight was seen a million times. It'll be seen a million more. So Ohio State fans, they kind of clinged on to that. But like you said, he wasn't doing that consistently. He wasn't getting the big sack, game in and game out. I believe 5 sacks last year, if I'm not mistaken. 5 sacks last year on a team where, it was kind of a down year with the pass rush. So all things considering for Ohio State as a unit defensively, Larry Johnson that's a big focus on the recruiting trail this year as we highlight, week in and week out on the big defensive names we brought in for scholarships. But, 5 sacks when, like you said, you have legends like, the Bosa brothers or Chase Young or even Sam Hubbard, who had double-digit sacks, his last 2 seasons at Ohio State. So I didn't see a complete package, and some of it was because of rotation as well. It looks like at times he wasn't on the field during big moments. So maybe that was, the coaching staff didn't see it either. And when you're not on the field for big time third downs and you're not on the field, especially when it came to rivalry games, no, you don't deserve to be a top 100 player. I'm not taking anything away from the man as a player or as a position, but it's not top 100 material. This is the year I do think he breaks that ceiling, Douglas, and, makes that name for himself and solidifies him, as a guy who could go round 2 or 3. But, right now it's just not there. The pieces aren't there and the stats aren't there.
Yeah, well said, Jordan. Looking at the schedule, obviously we're going to start with Akron. That's going to be a long game for Akron. Western Michigan, we're going to thump them also. Marshall is going to take it really bad. Michigan State also in trouble. Iowa, that'll be interesting because they always have a good defense. They can't score with us, not a big deal. Then one of the most important games on the schedule we've highlighted multiple times, Jordan,
yes,
at Oregon. That game's going to be incredible. I cannot wait. Nebraska the following week I think, kind of a trap game. They went out and got one of the best quarterbacks in the country to sign with Nebraska. They will be an interesting team this year. Then we've got Penn State in.
You can never overlook Penn State just because of the importance of the game, and they've always been that top tier 3 team in the Big Ten until we added a couple names this year. Obviously, I think Penn State drops out of that top 3, but they're just a team that you have to be on your A game. You can't overlook Penn State. They're just one of those teams that if you sleep on them, Douglas, that upsets happen on Saturdays, and they're one of those teams that I worry about depending on the first half play.
Nope, I'm totally with you there. Next, we go to Purdue, win, Northwestern, win, at Wrigley, which you highlighted, Indiana at home, and then we've got Michigan at home to round out the season. Jordan, the projection is us for Ohio State to go 12-0. Man, I think we get into the playoff with 11-1 if we end up losing that game to Oregon. But damn, is that going to be a massive, massive game, buddy? So give me 1 second, Jordan. Talk through that. I'll be right back.
No, you're good. And I don't see him losing that game this year. I think we get it done because we've got defense. Being a parent, also, folks, thank you for tuning in and kind of going through that. He's got a young one, but to our fans, I don't see them losing to Oregon this year. I don't think Oregon has the recruiting talent, rolling over from last season to be as competitive in the Big Ten. The Big Ten is more defensive than where Oregon came from, where it was just kind of offenses lighting it up against each other. That was always my complaint, about the Pac-12 or the Pac Conference, whatever you wanted to call it. And that's kind of my biggest complaint about the Big 12 as well. You see a lot of more points in those two divisions than you do in the Big Ten. I think Big Ten produces more defensive players year in and year out. But, we'll see. This is going to be a good schedule, folks. It's going to be entertaining. Ohio State has mobility at the quarterback this year, something we didn't really have last year. We had almost a pure pocket passer, and it almost looked like it slowed Ohio State's offense down a little bit. Us bringing in a transfer from the SEC was going to be big for the running back game, and also having a mobile quarterback for ourselves. I think that changes the dynamic of Ohio State this year, and I think they go and they get it done against Oregon because of that. That extra wrinkle in our offense this year of having mobility at the quarterback position is going to be huge. It's something we haven't seen probably since Justin Fields and a little bit before that. So it'll be nice to see that wrinkle thrown back in Ohio State's offense. And having Chip Kelly, I think that's one of the most underrated and not praised enough, coaches that we added. This man could have went and head coach just about anywhere in the country, and he chose to come and run Ohio State solely based on offense. So that's got to scream volumes right now that he's going to come in and, really unlock this offense. Ryan Days said, at least openly, he wasn't going to step on Chip Kelly's toes. And make no mistake about it, adding these Pac-12 teams, adding teams like USC and Oregon, you got to have a guy like Chip Kelly that's been in those systems before, knows how to run over those systems. And, you add that with what I was highlighting with the Big Ten defense. Big Ten defenses are built a lot different than playing in the Pac-12.
Yeah,
it's more of a grind. It's more physical. It's more in your face. So I think that, Oregon loses this game this year. And Douglas, I'm going to worry about it more in year 2 when Oregon gets their recruits and is able to adjust to Big Ten style play. I just don't think they get it done this year.
Okay, and I appreciate you for filling that time up and giving us that. Lila needed some assistance in the bathroom, so I am back. This is a family show, so we had to go take care of that. But Jordan, we've hammered home Ohio State. We're going to talk about Ohio State a lot. We cannot wait for Saturdays.
Can't wait.
It's just that time of year is the most perfect time of year. Really excited to get talking about the Buckeyes. Look, Jordan, let's transition though. We're getting into Olympic season, Jordan.
Yes.
We are very excited about the Olympics. Last night we had Team USA have a exhibition with Canada in which Team USA won by 14. Slow start from the guys, but obviously with the amount of talent that Team USA has, they were able to stretch out the lead and get a win in the end. But Jordan, talk to us about the Olympics, because something that we're planning on doing as the season goes along is we're going to start highlighting an Olympic athlete from Ohio Tell us a little bit about that and what you want to do there.
And we kind of touched on it when the committee and the selection and the trials were going on. Probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. And there is a incredible representation from the state of Ohio going to the Olympics. We've got swimmers for Team USA. We've got Ohio State athletes that are going to Team Germany is going to do some swimming and diving. We have heavy representation on the shooting from Ohio State. They've done amazing on the college level. We hope it brings up. We have some golfers and some of that nature kind of going up. So it's going to be super exciting. We're going to touch on, a lot of athletes that are representing themselves from Ohio. Some right here in Dayton, where Doug's at. Some right here in Cincinnati. We have heavy representation in Cleveland in a women's boxing division. That's going to be fun to watch. We kind of highlighted that a month ago, and we're going to bring that up. We're going to do a medal count.
That's gonna be
Douglas and
fun.
I kind of like the Ellie steals bases count, but we're gonna keep in tune with where Team USA represents as a nation, and we're gonna touch on our Ohio athletes. So it's gonna be super fun. These athletes, they train for years and years. It's every 4 years you only get one or two cracks at it before you kind of age out, unfortunately, because that's it's hard to beat father time. So it's a really big deal. And Douglas, I'm excited to cover it. I'm excited to get, these athletes and break them down. And, they're going to represent the nation and the great state of Ohio proud. So it's going to be a fun 2 weeks.
It really is going to be fun. I'm excited because this is a special time of year. The Olympics every 4 years, it's special, and it's going to be really fun highlighting those athletes and giving them the credit that they deserve for their sport and representing our country. Excited for the basketball, obviously, as a basketball fan. What is your favorite Olympic sport to watch outside of like a basketball or one of the big ones?
Outside the big one, obviously we had the Michael Phelps craze that really kind of tuned me into swimming. It got so big, Douglas, that we were starting to have family gatherings during the Olympics just to see Michael Phelps swim. So it was like a block party. Like people were just getting together for one reason only. So swimming is still really near to me. I love the beach volleyball, especially in the two sets, because that it is just athlete on athlete, and that is a lot of the times it's right smack in the afternoon. It's in a hot blazing sun. This year they made the beach volleyball courts kind of right in front of the Eiffel Tower, so the view and the area and the history, that's going to be fun to watch and see. So I'll be tuning into that. And some of the ducks, I don't know what it is, but rowing to me looks really fun. Those guys, it's so quick. They got to do it as a team. They got to do it as a unit. And when you see a team like just turn the wrong way ever so slightly and adds the extra 10 to 15 seconds, and all of a sudden that other boat is just smoking them, it it's it's so knee jerk reaction. You kind of get that raw, and it's done in seconds. So it's really, to me, stuff like that is fun. Obviously, track is fun, but they air it so early in the morning that I don't really get to outside the replays. I don't really get to catch it live, but
I,
those are the things that really rake me in. What about you?
I for whatever reason, the older I've got, the more I've enjoyed volleyball and
Yeah.
just the athletes in volleyball, the way that guys get up and spike the ball and above the net and everything, and the way they keep the ball alive, the rallies, all that kind of stuff. I really enjoy the volleyball. I'll be definitely tuning into some more volleyball this year for the men's and the women's. And then if I had to pick a secondary one, I would say tennis. I'm a big tennis fan. I've always been a tennis fan, and I'm gonna definitely enjoy watching some tennis coming up. But Jordan, we're gonna talk about these Ohio athletes who are representing the state, the colleges in the Olympics. We're gonna be talking about the medal count. We're gonna be talking about some of the individual events. We're gonna really hammer home the Olympics this year, and I think that's pretty exciting because sometimes they get a lot of coverage, but sometimes it's nice to get two guys who are just fans of these sports and fans of these athletes to talk about them and give them a little bit of extra coverage. So that'll be really exciting this year. Something we're going to do kind of in a down period for sports. I mean, we've got the Reds And then we're in, off-season mode with the Bengals, the Browns. We're coming up on college football, obviously, with the Buckeyes. Cavs we'll talk about them in a couple seconds, but there's not a
Dead
lot going on
horse.
with the NBA. Summer League today, we'll talk about here shortly, but not a lot going on majorly in sports besides baseball. So we're going to, kind of dive into the Olympics and give another perspective on some of those sports. So I am excited about that venture. Jordan, speaking of some of these other sports, let's get into the news and notes portion. Buddy, the Cleveland Cavaliers continue to do absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Do you want to talk about it, or do you want to just move on to talk Summer League?
I'll hammer it. I'll hammer it for a few seconds, Douglas. First of all, I want to apologize to our fan base. I was 110% wrong. I thought we would have a signing by now, and I'm not going on the record. Kobe Altman has now burned me 2 weeks in a row, so fuck him right now. I'm truly disappointed as a president, as a GM, whatever label you want to give him. Right now, he's a burning trash can, in my opinion. Just, fished us in a little bit with some, major coaching signatures, but no trades, no willingness to part ways with contracts that need to be gone. Yeah. It just, we're so far, Douglas. It looks like we're diving in head first with the same pieces last year, and to me, that's pretty disappointing. So that's all I'll say about it. Move on.
Yeah, so we'll obviously touch on the Summer League. What do they play? Oh boy, what do they play tomorrow?
But I believe our first game for the Cavs is tomorrow.
Yeah, so they play tomorrow at 4:00, I believe.
NBA TV.
Yeah, it'll be on NBA TV. Obviously, we'll get to see the young guys play. That's exciting.
Yes.
I'm just excited to watch some basketball again. I enjoy the Summer League atmosphere. We get to see, Imani Bates shoot a lot more than he usually would. We get to see what Tyson can do. We get to see DJ Burns. We talked about it a little bit last week. We'll definitely cover how the Cavs do in the Summer League and if they can defend their Summer League title. But let's not dwell on the Cavs too much because the roster is like it's been the last 2 weeks. It's not good enough to compete, and it doesn't feel like the GM cares about this. We keep hearing these rumblings about some kind of trade, and it hasn't happened. Nothing's happened. Okoro finally got his Twitter account unhacked. Who cares? Just not a lot of fun right now around the Cavs, especially after we got our coach, we got Donnie, we got our draft pick. It's been very quiet after those three moves. So, but let's move on, Jordan. Let's talk about the Guardians because we did mention them earlier in the show. They've struggled a little bit against the Tigers. I've seen some Guardians fans be a little hesitant on their chances this year, Jordan. Do you think without another starting pitcher that the Guardians can make a run in the playoffs? Because based on what I've seen from their fan base, and we're working our way into supporting the Guardians more and more, but the diehards are telling me that they are not a legitimate contender.
That's reminiscent to the comments this morning, Douglas. We try to post schedules and matchups for all of our local teams, and the minute I posted it, Doug, it only took 5 or 6 minutes before we got that first comment. I don't think they're going to get out of the first 2 innings, and it unraveled. It unraveled fast. They took a pitcher that had a high ERA, really kind of unknown. So Douglas, they need that other arm. They do. Do I think they make a run? Yes. Do I think they see it? Do I think they win AL? No. I think they get out of the first round of the divisional, and that beyond that, Douglas, without that legitimate like fourth guy, low fifth guy, if they can fit in, if they don't go all in for a big name, if they don't have legitimacy in the rotation. They had the offense to cover up for it in the regular season, and we know that. They're sending 5 All-Stars for a reason, Douglas.
Let's not act like they're not.
Let's not act like they're not. They don't have the juice. They have the juice, but when you play a team that is on that same level consistently for a series, that changes the aspect of everything. Your record goes out in the playoffs, you become 0-0. And with the rotation right now, I don't think they're good enough to win the World Series. I think they're good enough to get out of the first round. But Douglas, it's going to be a struggle beyond that if they don't make the trade, and if they don't kick the tires. And I'm going to say the name, whatever. I'll get flack for it. If they don't kick the tires on Trevor Bauer and maybe send him to an assignment, or if they don't make a trade for another name, but you can't waste a year. In my opinion, you got to pull the trigger somewhere, and hopefully the Cleveland Guardians, the ownership, the management, they're got to come together. You have one of the best teams in baseball when they're clicking. They're often the number one record in AL when they're hot, and they flex in and out of that the last couple of weeks. I think they make the trade, Douglas. I think they make the shock signing or the trade, because you cannot piss this year down the drain. There's too much talent. There's too many guys that have been healthy. Knock on wood. Those things don't just come together for you, and you got to open your eyes and you got to pull the trigger. You want to get past the Yanks. You want to get past the LA Dodgers. These big payroll teams that outspend them 2-1. You got to make the trade or you got to make the sign. And I think their management gets it done. I think the fan base will calm down. Post All-Star, we'll be sitting here talking about it positively. So I do. Do you think they stay stagnant, or do you think they pull the trigger?
I hope they pull the trigger as a supporter from the outside looking in. Also, Jordan, it's funny because the fan base, feels so negatively, but then you look at their record, they're 57-35, and they still have the best record in baseball, and they've gone 5-5 in their last 10. So it kind of feels like, as a Reds fan, while we're scratching and crawling for everything we have, the Guardians, lose 2 in a row, and people are, the sky's falling, but they still have the best record in baseball. So it's just kind of seeing the other side of fandom where your team's actually really good, and you still, live and die by every single loss the way we do on the other side of the candle, where we're scratching and clawing for 500, is very interesting. I hope the Guardians do go out and get an arm. I think that will help solidify that rotation. They've got a lot of high ERAs in that starting group. The bullpen is decent, and they have one of the best closers in baseball.
Absolutely.
I think they need to go out and get an arm. Maybe a guy who can be a number 3 on a good team. That kind of guy. They have pieces in the organization to go do that. But I wish the Guardians well, of course. I would love to see them succeed, because I don't think the Reds can get to that point this year. Next thing, Jordan, we've got some MLS soccer. FC Cincinnati going to be back in action this weekend. We've got the big game on Saturday night.
Yes, sir.
FC Cincinnati versus Charlotte FC. FC Cincinnati is favored to win. Over-unders 2.5 for you betting junkies out there. Jordan, another opportunity to get a win. I'm expecting Charlotte to give us a good game, because it seems like all of these teams play their best game against FC Cincinnati. We talked about it a little bit last time, that big emotional dump of beating Inter Miami. You said you expect the guys to be locked in and play a good game. Has your mind changed at all? Any hiccups in the battle against Charlotte?
I'm not going to back away my comments. I see a 2-1 win. Charlotte's going to come out and give them hell in that first half, but I think FC Cincinnati, the natural talent on the team, is going to pull through. But I think you're going to see kind of slow legs in the beginning. I think you're going to see that we're going to lock in and get back in the groove. And I hated that, and I alluded to it last episode. I hated that long layoff after that big win, because it wasn't just a win; it was a trouncing. It was a curve stomp statement to the East, a curve stomp statement, for the Shield overall, and that's hard. That's hard to take a couple of days off like that. I as a coach would almost schedule a scrimmage. I don't know. I just it's hard. It's hard for me to think that Douglas, we've won big things, and if you have a big layoff, it's hard to relock in, because you come in there with that kind of confidence and swagger. And, like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. So I think Charlotte's going to come out and punch them in the mouth in the first half and kind of give a little culture shock. But I think FC Cincinnati locks back in, like I said, that 2-1 victory. And then we get back on that winning trail and everybody kind of gets their groove back.
Yep, I'm with you on that. I expect FC Cincinnati to take care of business. I do think it'll be a close game. Like you said, 2-1 feels about right. So I'm not going to go against you there. Big weekend. A lot of stuff going on, Jordan. Do you have anything else for the news and notes section before we head out?
A little Bengals piece, as our fans know. Douglas is a big Browns guy. Fuck Deshaun Watson forever.
Jeez.
But
Oh, uh,
I know
what a wild take that was.
that
Jeez.
was right. But it was good to see our third round pick. Burton has been working out with personally and has hired Bengals legend T.J. Houshmandzadeh, a name that
Yeah.
the Browns fan base knows very well. And he's been working in the slot position, Douglas, and it really feels like maybe he's the guy that's going to fill in that role vacated by Boyd, departing
Right.
for the Tennessee Titans on I believe a 1 year deal. But it's definitely that feels good. A guy
Yeah.
like Burton that had some off the field issues, so being mentored early by T.J. Houshmandzadeh, that makes me feel good because that's a guy who openly dealt with anger issues and off the field issues himself. Once
Yeah.
his playing career dwindled, he kind of opened the book and said, he had legitimate problems, and he solved them in a professional manner that gave him kind of a long career. So anytime you kind of see that, hey, I understand what you're going through, and that coaching and that mentoring, that feels good. That feels good as a Bengals fan because not having Boyd this year is going to be weird.
It is.
Before the draft, I wasn't very confident in who we had in the roster to play that role for 16 plus games. So it that was a kind of a feel good clip story this morning. I hope it pans out for the young man. A lot of people thought he would be drafted in round 2 had he not had the off the field issues. And we watched it live when he got drafted. Nick Saban, that's never what you want to hear because he's the former head coach. Said I hope he gets his shit together. Basically said I hope he gets his shit together. And performs well in the NFL. That's not something as a Bengals fan that was really good to hear because we were plagued for almost a decade under the Marvin Lewis era with guys that had off the field issues and it never really panned out in the long run.
For
So
sure.
hopefully Houshmandzadeh, fixes that and the young man listens. So that's my kind of piece on it.
Yep, and that's great. It's nice to have a good mentor and a guy who meant so much to Cincinnati come back and pay it back now that he's in a much better place. So that's a good story. Hopefully, it doesn't really translate on the field, but good for him. No. I hope he does well every game except for 2. So it's really not that big of a diss. But Jordan,
I mean, we suck against Cleveland anyways right now under the Burrow era.
I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the hell your guys' issue is, but for whatever reason, we handle you guys pretty well. So, but we'll talk about that so much more going forward, Jordan. We have.
I want to quote Heath Ledger real quick. When we play Cleveland, everybody loses their minds. So it just happens. So hopefully we fix it. We split a 1-1 with not playing against your third stringers. So it'd be nice to see.
Yeah. Nope. That's been our news and notes section. Covered a couple different things there, Jordan. We have 110 live viewers right now. We appreciate every single one of you guys for stopping in and checking out the show. If you want to watch it back, head over to our YouTube channel, Ohio Sports Talk over there. We're also on Facebook, TikTok, all that social media stuff. We're absolutely hammering it on Instagram too. I don't know how to get more followers on Instagram. It's a wild west over there. But we are active on social media, and we appreciate everybody who takes the time to interact with us. Thanks again, everybody, for watching the show. We are working on our Ohio Sports Talk shop. We will be selling the black version of that koozie, and we will be selling a red version of that koozie. We're very excited about that. We'll be selling them for $5.99. So please check that out. We would appreciate any support for the show. And we'll be back Monday night live at 9 o'clock. We'll be covering everything from the weekend. We'll be touching on all kinds of topics. Hopefully the Reds are heading into the All-Star break a little bit closer to 500. Hopefully the Cavs make a roster move this weekend. And hopefully FC Cincinnati brings home a win. I am your host, Doug. That's the Mad Dog, Jordan Maxon. And we will see you Monday night.